So thank you all for being here today. I am Dr. V. Brooks Dunbar. I am the founder and developer and visionary behind the new LaVilla. This is a commercial, mixed use commercial property that we are revitalizing in a historic commercial district. And we're here today to talk about the project, but also to be here as a education platform, information gathering platform, and community gathering platform to talk about how we can start to reinvest in our forgotten Wall Streets. So today I have Kristin Kitchen here with me.
Hello,
And
ladies.
Kristin, let me get my cursor to work. Okay. All right, there you go. Kristin is here with us today. And I met Kristin because I go to Miami often. I have a property down there, and I look for places to stay. And I start with, who has, space in one of our historic districts, in this case, historic Overtown. And I was so pleasantly surprised that Kristin had opened the Dunn's Josephine Hotel. It is a Harlem Renaissance themed hotel in Overtown, Miami. And so every time I go there now, that is where I stay and reside and recreate. And it is the perfect location from downtown, walking distance from, every vantage point that you could imagine in Miami. So thank you, Kristin, for being here. I just wanted people to get to know you, who you are, and to talk about your work and your projects. So we're going to start with introductions, and then I'll walk through the slides, the pitch deck for the new LaVilla, and the case for why invest in this project. We're going to talk about the who, the what, the where, the why, the when, and how much is involved in putting together a crowdfunding campaign. I'm going to touch on who is involved in these projects, key team members that are working with me, and then the launch process on Vestor.com, a Black female-owned crowdfunding platform that she launched in 2023. And then we're going to talk to Kristin about her vision behind Sojourn Heritage Accommodations. And we'll open it up for questions. And you can also put questions in the chat about why community crowdfunding matters in today's climate, and, in terms of how we can start to build wealth in our communities. So I am Dr. V. I go by Dr. V. I'm Felicia Dunbar. I have been working as a business advisor, business coach, and consultant for more than 20 years now. I'm currently a business advisor for the Goldman Sachs 1 Million Black Women program. And NYU Stern is part of the curriculum development team with that program. I'm also a state certified business technical assistance counselor working with people with disabilities who want to start their business. My doctorate is in organizational crisis management. So I always say when COVID hit, I was very busy, and more will come for sure when we start to look at how technology and new innovations are going to disrupt our current business models. I am a CDFI technical assistance provider. I used to work for the federal government, got out of that about 12 years ago, perfect timing. And I'm the author of Diva Decisions, a book on women and self-leadership. And I'll turn it over to Kristin.
Hello, everyone. My name is Kristin Kitchen, and I am the owner of Sojourn Heritage Accommodations. It's a brand of boutique hotels and B&Bs that are all focused on African-American history. So when I first purchased 6 Acres Bed and Breakfast, it's a historic site that was part of the Underground Railroad, kind of launched me into this journey of finding historic sites around the country. But what we know is that anywhere in the country, you just throw a dart anywhere, and we have a great Black history story. So that's just kind of where it has led me as I travel around the country, looking at different sites or being asked to come to different locations. Then I'm tasked with a great opportunity to dig up the American history, the African-American history story, and bring it to the walls of the hotels. So every single hotel that we own or B&B that we own are all themed from members of Black, people in Black history in those towns, cities, communities, we kind of tell the history. So it's a night at the museum is what we call it. So it's been, my first one opened 22 years ago, so it's been a run. So here we are.
Yeah, and here I am now looking at Kristin as, my role model, mentor, if, how can we expand Kristin's universe and open up more spaces and again, bring community around that to make sure that we also have ownership in our own assets and have equity in these properties. So again, Kristin, just so excited and a pleasure to meet you when I was in Miami, hanging out and to know your story. So I'll start with the case for the new LaVilla. LaVilla here in Jacksonville, Florida, is one of our historic Black districts. So Kristin and I are totally in alignment with, bringing back our local commercial corridors. And I know at one point you were looking at or thinking about, coming here to help us out in Jacksonville with restoring some of the buildings that are still vacant and unoccupied. And now with the tremendous amount of reinvestment in the area, there's certainly a lot that is happening, but we want to make sure that we have some ownership in those spaces as well.
Yes. Yes.
When I acquired the building, I acquired the new LaVilla in 2021 and then put it under the name the new LaVilla because I wanted that to be the brand, sort of the revitalization of LaVilla. We started out with the building and then started to work on, how can we acquire, raise funds, and start to convert this into a multi-use, mixed-use facility. So we have this opportunity now that we've gone through permitting, design, and all of that, an opportunity to ask people if they're interested in being a part of this project. It's a $1.2+ million real estate crowdfunding campaign that we launched June 23rd. So we are 5 weeks heading into 6 weeks into the campaign to revitalize this historic building. And I'll show you pictures of that as well. So as we were starting to develop this campaign, I started to realize a lot of people were unfamiliar with where is Jacksonville, Florida, and LaVilla. And so we wanted to show that, this is the center or the cornerstone of where I-95 and I-10 meet, two major intersections that connect the east to the west, the north to the south. They intersect at Jacksonville, Florida. We also have the largest community of Gullah Geechee descendants. We're in the Low Country Corridor. The Smithsonian at one point, under Faith Ruffin's leadership, she recently passed away, was building out an exhibit about the Low Country and the descendants of, and the Gullah Geechee descendants. Jacksonville has the largest population of Gullah Geechee descendants in the South. And so LaVilla itself, making the case for why this particular district was founded in 1866, incorporated in 1869, but it was founded by Black Union soldiers who were here stationed in Jacksonville for more than 2 years during the Civil War and immediately after the Civil War, and decided to stay. Part of those people, if you saw the movie Glory, were part of the 55th or 54th Massachusetts Regiment. Some of them came from Beaufort, I think North or South Carolina, I can't remember. Kristin, you would know. Is it Beaufort, North or Beaufort, South Carolina?
South Carolina.
Thank you. Beaufort, South Carolina, who was actually free in 1861, and they were part of the initial regiments that started to fight and support the Union efforts. Jacksonville in LaVilla was known as the Harlem of the South as it started to progress and become this thriving commercial corridor. Also home of the Colored Man's Railroad and A. Philip Randolph and his Pullman Porters, if you know that story and that history. Also the home of James Weldon Johnson, author of Lift Every Voice and Sing. 2 blocks over is Old Stanton High School, where he was principal. And the story says that this was the first recording of blues being sung in a public stage in 1910. Now, the building itself that I own is the Will Hotel. It was a lodging unit upstairs where travelers and also lodgers would come and stay. There were Cuban workers there who were working at the local cigar factory, as well as African-American employees. One of the ladies there worked at Stanton High School. She was a teacher, and families who were there. And so upstairs was the lodging unit, and then downstairs was the transition into this commercial space where Jewish immigrants started to come in, and they were operating the retail space down the bottom floor. So what are the market generators that we were looking at to make a case again for, why LaVilla and why now? Why now is the opportunity to invest in this area? We are going to be Jacksonville's newest downtown destination by 2028. So far, they have developed the LaVilla Heritage Trail, $10 million investment. Uptown LaVilla is coming. That's the one, Kristin, that, what's his name?
Ennis.
Ennis, thank you. That Ennis is working on. So we have, and so when Chris and I were talking at her hotel, we realized we had, some connections, outside of ourselves. So Ennis, he writes for the Jackson magazine. He talks about this area quite a bit. It has a huge historical archive about LaVilla. And so he's working on this Uptown LaVilla project with some outside investors. The Jacksonville Regional Transportation Center at the new LaVilla, they intentionally added at LaVilla to their title. This was a $57 million project, and they're also now building out the intermodal center for electronic cars, so that the transportation hub, because of the old train station was housed in LaVilla and the Colored Man's Railroad, it continues to be the central transportation hub in Jacksonville. And of course, Lift Every Voice and Sing Park opened last year at a price of $3 million. Now, within the past, I've been here 10 years there, and so within the past 5 years, they've brought on more housing. There are townhomes there, $100 million and new housing development, and the area is continuing to grow. So when they tore down the buildings and disinvested in LaVilla, a lot of the housing was destroyed. And so now they're trying to bring back townhomes. And these were beautiful Victorian style homes that were just reduced to rubble. The newest, biggest announcement that recently came out is that the University of Florida is going to invest $130 million to open its graduate campus. So things are moving and things are happening very quickly in LaVilla. And because we're located on the Main Street, Broad Street, across from the courthouse, which is another huge development. I think they put in about $800 million for that project, but 1.1 million people come in and out of that courthouse every day, and we're right across the street from that development. They leveled 3 acres to put that courthouse on that property. So in terms of population growth and why this is also important is that Jacksonville is the largest city by land in the United States. It's the 10th most populated city in the country, but the Urban Land Institute designated Jacksonville as one of its 5 supernova cities. A supernova city is a city that is experiencing rapid economic growth and rapid business growth. So all of the drivers are pointing towards Jacksonville to be the new thriving city of the South. And then you'll see that to complement that, unemployment is low and our tax rate, of course, is low. For entrepreneurs, we are the 4th best city for new business startups. And of course, we have the Jacksonville Jaguars football team. So approximately a mile and a half down the road, shuttle or walk over to the stadium. So the co-working relevance here is fitting as well, because Jacksonville is booming in terms of new business startups and freelancing. Co-working is a fitting opportunity here. The prediction from Statista is that there is a demand for at least 400 to 9,200 customers that will be looking for and seeking co-working space here. And the types of co-working spaces are, it ranges from, independent mailboxes to actual dedicated desks, and we can address all of that within this space. The demand for freelance spaces is only going to continue as people start to look at, how working in an office environment is actually working for them. So this is the current building. You can see this is the only continuous block that is left in LaVilla. The building, the taller one there with the dark brick, is the Masonic Lodge.
Mm-hmm.
The smaller building on the other side of that is the old, I forget the hotel name, but it was owned by a Black woman proprietor as well. The new LaVilla, the rainbow colored windows there, that the building code, encourages that for some reason. So the colored windows there is where Fannie Harvey operated the Will Hotel upstairs. This is the current interior. So this would be a complete gut and remodel. And this is the future rendering of what the space will look like once it's completed. Now the murals on the side there is a temporary mural. We are actually going to apply to the city to make that a tribute to the Buffalo Soldiers. So something with one of the Buffalo Soldiers or horses or the cavalry, some theme that is going to, again, appreciate the founders of the new LaVilla, but also to bring back the story behind the Buffalo Soldiers and to make this building a landmark in that area. So we are across from the courthouse. You can see the courthouse across the street. Where you see the white pavement walkway there, that is part of the Heritage Trail. So that will actually be green, I think. And the Heritage Trail will wrap around the entire block and come out on the other side at the Masonic Lodge. So again, we're in an ideal location where business is going to be thriving. The grassy area there in front of the courthouse is going to be a 3-acre urban park. The themes for that 3-acre urban park will be around the image of justice and social causes. So a lot happening here. The future of the building and its proximity to other landmarks is also significant. We're completely surrounded by, landmarks. So we have James Weldon Johnson Park to the south, 3 blocks, and then Lift Every Voice and Sing Park is to the north of us at 3 blocks. So again, completely surrounded by development. The Prime Osborne Convention Center is 4 blocks with the Jacksonville Terminal there. Performing Arts Center is about a half mile to a mile walking distance. And then you have the old Stanton High School, Emerald Trail, just a wealth of community assets within walking distance.
I think they were going to turn the
Riverbank
old
Stadium.
Stanton into a food hall. Are they still trying to do a food hall in the old Stanton? Have you heard that?
So it's still going through renderings. I'm hoping that they'll make it into an event center. It's such a beautiful building.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Stanton High School is owned by a foundation. The foundation is operated by graduates, former graduates of the Stanton School that replaced Old Stanton High. And so they've been working for quite a while on getting permitting and getting funding raised on their own to reopen that building. If you go to our YouTube page, you will see a love letter to LaVilla. That was a video that a young man created that featured both the new LaVilla, my property, and Stanton High School. And the one with the tall walls and open space is Stanton High School. It's just a beautiful, beautiful building.
Yeah.
And it is protected. So this building is historic landmarked, and Stanton High School is historically landmarked as well. And so the project timeline, so we have gone through the building and permitting phase once with corrections sent back for safety issues. So we're now going back through the permitting process, working with The Historic Planning Commission, because we're a historic landmark, we have to make sure that we protect the integrity of the historic aspects of that building. But we also had to make sure that the building, when we bring it up to modern standards, is also safe. So the fire department sent it back for some safety and compliance corrections. And so those corrections have been approved. And so now we're going back through the full permitting process. And that should be completed, we hope, by the fall of this year. And so after we complete that process, the Downtown Investment Authority has a review. We're looking to receive funding from them to help with the retail aspect of the building. So the building will have retail on the bottom, front, co-working in the back, and then upstairs is an event space with additional offices and the 2-bedroom, 2-bath lodging unit. Again, bringing back the fact that the Will Hotel was there and that it was a place where people sought refuge and residence. After permitting is completed, we want to get on target to break ground in January, or well, first quarter of 2026, with no more than 12 months of construction, opening in the fall of 2027. And this is our future rendering. And the full slide deck is available on the website, as well as on the Vestors, it's VESTERR.com, on the Vestor crowdfunding campaign. So when we started to put together the crowdfunding plan, you're required to have an intermediary to handle any investor funding and to also qualify individuals based on if they're a qualified, an accredited or non-accredited investor. So the Securities and Exchange Commission, we have to file with them. We have to work with an attorney. We have to get a financial audit of all of our financials. And so the entire process is to ensure that the public is protected when it comes to where they put their money, and what we communicate out has to be on record and consistent with the story behind the new LaVilla and all of our financial disclosures. And all of that information is housed at the SEC's website. And so mixed use, retail coffee shop, gift shop, co-working space, and then the residential unit is available for members and the public. And so this is an example of the drawings. The team includes architect. I have 2 architects, contractor, and then 2 consultants, one with crowdfunding consulting, one with working with the city. So there's quite a big team that you need to pull together to pull off getting through city, and then the second phase, getting to the crowdfunding side of it. And so these drawings were approved by the fire chief, and it just shows that we had to add a private entrance, fire protected entrance for the residents upstairs in the back. A lot of drawing and redrawing going on. And so this is an example of the marketing strategy and the financial justifications for the project. Again, this is all housed at the vestor.com site, and also the slide deck is on our website at thenewlavilla.com. Our raise is 1.2 million, and our minimum investment is $10,000 with perks. The perks are also listed on the page. The funding categories and the funding campaign itself is timed. So the campaign runs through September 30th. Investors who invest in the campaign have to have very clear, what are you getting for your investment? And so we have all the Q&As that go with what are you, because we can't promise a return, everything is hypothetical because we're talking about the future. What we can only give is illustrations of what a potential return could potentially look like. And so all of that is on the website as well. However, on the founding member benefits perks, those are on the New LaVilla website. Additional incentives when you're working in this area, there may be state, federal incentives. So this is just for the person to be aware of that. They may or may not qualify, but those are available to further explore and investigate. we have to be very clear about the use of proceeds and reporting what those will be. So this is our breakdown of use of proceeds from the raise. On the vestor.com page, you have to minimally raise $250,000. And if you don't hit that minimum, then the funds are actually returned to the donors. So that's a protection that Davon, the founder of her platform, vestor.com, she's a young African-American woman. She owns or has interest in owning hotels as well. And she wanted this to create this platform to show other people how to invest and how to use community crowdfunding to have joint ownership in our assets. So that is my presentation. If you have any questions, again, my one-on-one is in the chat, or you can ask me here. I will turn it over to Kristin to talk about Sojourn Heritage Accommodations and her work.
So first, I wanted to hear a little bit from you ladies. Where are you from, and what brought you to the meeting today? Let's start with Frida.
Yes, thank you.
I'm delighted to be here with you ladies. You're trailblazers. I'm in New York, and Dr. V and I worked on the Goldman Sachs program together, and I'm happy to say Dr. V is also a client of mine.
Okay. And Jane?
No, I was genuinely interested in investing as well. But 95% of it is to show up for Dr. V as she shows up for me.
Thank you.
Thank you, Frida.
And Jane?
Good evening, everyone.
Evening.
Jane Snell Simpson. I'm actually a general contractor down in the South Florida area. I'm in West Palm, well, Palm Beach County. Yeah, so pretty close to you, Kristin. I don't know how I got this email. I'm not sure what happened. It just popped in my inbox and I opened it and it looked interesting. And I have never heard of what is it, LaVilla?
LaVilla.
LaVilla. I've never heard of that area. I actually lived in Jacksonville for about a year and a half, maybe 2 years, some time ago. And I've just never heard of this. So I'm curious, a little bit curious. So that's what.
Yes, all the newbies prefer to live out on the outlying, areas. They don't want to come downtown and enjoy. So that's very likely why, especially if you work with a realtor, they'll send you to the high rent districts outside of town. Thank you, Jane.
So Jane, how long have you been a contractor?
22 years. This year is 22 years. My focus is on, well, it's moved over the years, with the different times and different things happening around us that we don't control. So I started out manufacturing hurricane shutters. And back in, I think, 2010, the downturn happened in like 2007. So around 2010, I started to recognize a common theme with people wanting to keep what they have, just recognizing and being grateful for what they have and moving in together. So multi-generational families was very popular. So I kind of ended up in the market of working with more seniors, aging in place. I became a certified aging in place specialist over the years. So I work with a lot of families who decided to stay in place and love the home they're in, or more currently in the last 2 to 3 years, it's been build one in your backyard. That's become my theme, which is the ADUs and the granny flats. So I'm very, very much involved in that world.
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. So Sojourn Heritage, as I said, is a boutique brand focused on African American history and culture. And I think Dr. V is on the right track for revitalizing our communities. And in Miami, the historic Overtown district is being renovated, but we aren't a part of that picture. You know, so much of it is purchased, you know, it's been bought up, and now there are all these major developers and everybody's marketing and promoting Overtown, but there are fewer and fewer Black folks and a whole lot of others coming in. So we have to grab our resources and tell our stories. And that was really the big deal, because I knew when I first started this project, in 15 years, if we didn't hold the history, nobody would even know Black folks, you know, lived in Overtown, or that even 161 men signed the charter for Miami to be a city. And most of those Black men came from the Overtown and Coconut Grove areas. So, you know, preserving our treasures and being confident that we will be successful in those places is really what this is all about. Cultural heritage tourism is the fastest growing section of the tourism market. And normally when we think about that, we think about traveling internationally or going to, you know, certain locations, Paris, for instance, or something like that. But really, local cultural heritage tourism is growing just as fast. And a lot of that is from the lack of information that the masses have about Black history. So as we begin to develop our communities, we have to be the voices that tell those stories that make cultural heritage tourism valuable and viable. So it's important.
Yeah, I noticed, Kristin, that a lot of the tenants at the hotel at the Dunn's Josephine were coming in from Central America. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah. West Miami. Nobody's from Miami. Right, you know, it's a really international city. So the majority of our clients are from somewhere else. I would say 70% are not American.
That's very true. And so if you want to look at the websites and take a screenshot of the website addresses for Kristin's hotels, this isn't, which room is this one, Kristin?
That's the Beatrice room at 6 Acres.
At 6 Acres. And so 6 Acres is Cincinnati, Ohio. And again, you know, Kristin's hotels have such a rich story behind all of them. And so this one, I believe, was part of the Underground Railroad, Kristin? Okay. And so throughout all of them, there's a story. I love the one that has the tobacco history. And this is, again, about history that many of us don't know about, you know, our work in, you know, the tobacco industries. And which one is that, Rocky Mount or Shelby?
That's the one in Rocky Mount.
And Rocky Mount. So definitely take a screenshot and visit these websites and look at the beautiful images of her hotels. Now, Kristin, for you, you're working on an upcoming project. Do you want to mention that?
Yeah, so Jane, we may be coming to, well, I am, I'm just going to claim it because they've reached out to me and told me that it's happening, but it's in the Northwest District in West Palm Beach. So I need to get your information because the project is just beginning. And I know there's going to be an RFP out for construction if you do things to that magnitude. But if not, maybe pieces of it as a subcontractor, we're going to require that they ensure that some Black folks are working on the project as it goes. Because if not, we won't be there. The whole Northwest District will be developed by somebody else, right?
That is
So
correct. And
that's important.
And
we're
that
very deliberate about that.
And that's definitely where the LaVilla is looking. You know, I'm the new LaVilla is looking. And so when I was trying to find out who still owns property there, I think I only came up with 3 buildings that are still privately owned by the people that founded the place. So, well, 4. One of the ladies passed away. You told me she passed. Did you tell me she passed away? The lady that owns the last Victorian estate there.
I'm not sure. I can't think of her name, but I know exactly who you're talking about. I don't know if she.
Yes.
Yeah.
So any questions for us? And this is the information for the new LaVilla. The logo there is the city's logo, the one on the bottom. The city has branded its various neighborhoods as part of the Heritage Trail. And so this was the logo that the city developed for LaVilla. And so I envision having, this huge white flag flying over the building again, as a landmark, marking LaVilla, and then also having the mural of the Buffalo Soldiers there as well, where people can see it as a destination spot. I mean, it's the gateway to LaVilla, the location of the new LaVilla. Any questions about crowdfunding or investing or how to support Kristin, where to stay? Any questions at all on that?
No questions. I'm just checking out the hotel, Kristin, and it looks
So Kristin and I were talking because of, the cultural heritage piece, Kristin, I'm glad you said that because I realized I haven't really been using that language in my communication about the new LaVilla, that, the cultural story behind LaVilla is significant. You were talking about your research, and I was fascinated because you said you were trying to hunt down this slave owner who.
Yes.
Can you talk to us a little bit about how you actually dig up the stories that you want to include in, throughout your buildings? Because I do want it to feel like, for the new LaVilla, like there's images on the wall or there's a story in there as soon as you walk in that you can appreciate being told.
Well, in North Carolina, our house was built by the descendants of a slave owning family. And in the records, I read that they owned the China American Tobacco Company. And I read that they shipped Black enslaved people to China to teach them how to grow tobacco. And right now, tobacco is China's #1 crop, right? So we're just trying to find this story, find this timeline, and keep digging so that we can know exactly what's going on with the house. I mean, I'm like, okay, we just read one line that said they ship Black bodies to China. I'm like, what? How do we not know any piece of this American story?
Oh my gosh.
And when, where, how, and that's their #1 crop. So we were, exporting tobacco and cigarettes to China. And then they just decided it would be better if they could teach the Chinese folks how to grow their own tobacco. Well, our companies were over there making tobacco, but the guy from Duke threw a dart and decided what part of the world had the most amount of people, and it was China. And that's when he decided, well, that's where I'm going to spread tobacco and spread cigars and cigarettes. So he sent us with him. So it's just a powerful thought process there. So we're doing the research.
And you introduced me to, what was the owner of the property the lady who owned the property in West Palm? What was her name?
Alice Mickens. Jane,
Yes.
are you familiar with that history?
No, I have not. I don't know if I've heard that name before either. I'm trying to search.
You must be a burbs girl. You're just a suburbs girl. You got to come into the hood, girl. You have to come in. Yes.
Yes.
A famous female civil rights activist in West Palm. She was the descendant of slaves, but she went to Spelman and was just really active. They talk about A. Philip Randolph coming to her house, and she also hosted, a lot of the jazz greats and things like that. So her daughter donated the property to the city of West Palm. So I looked at this property 14 years ago when there was absolutely zero appetite for preservation. And since then, they've decided to fund the restoration of her house and the additional rooms that are required to make it a hotel. So it's just really exciting because it's just been a long time coming. Wonderful. And just what a great story we can tell.
And I wanted to ask, Joy, did you want to introduce yourself or say anything? I know we overlooked you. And so one of the questions that I was presented with was, so what is, what is your exit strategy? What do you want to do after you finish the raise? And, going to where Kristin is, like, once you start getting the stories and once you start understanding that there's so much that we don't know, I've been having conversations with Boley, Oklahoma and Lexington, Kentucky about how do we start to um, create this national footprint of these locations, and how do we bring community ownership and community reinvestment to all of these other areas that are, they have been disinvested, they're no longer thriving, but there's a huge opportunity before everyone else, comes in and sees a big land grab, to really start to slowly, invest one building at a time. And that's been my mantra. How can we just do this one building at a time, bringing everyone in to have ownership and reclaim our assets. And so those are the two targets I have so far, only because one of the ladies was on one of our calls and scheduled a one-on-one with me to talk about that. And so if anyone's interested in talking about what's going on in their community and the towns like LaVilla. Kristin, what's the name of the neighborhood that you were talking about in West Palm?
The Northwest District is what it's called.
So the Northwest District, of course, Boley, everybody knows, Boley, one of the oldest Black towns out in the West. And I did not know that Oklahoma had like 13, like the most Black towns that were founded, after the Civil War ended. And so this is the long game for me, is having a community of investor owners, and to start just acquiring those, additional properties and historically landmarking them, and building a portfolio of assets around that. So this is the start for me, and just glad that Kristin has, kind of put down a footprint or a template that we can all look to and learn from. Any other thoughts, Kristin?
No, thank you all for joining us.
Any other questions or thoughts? So my email, again, if you want to schedule a one-on-one tomorrow and just chat it up a bit. I'm sorry, not tomorrow, Wednesday. My one-on-ones are Wednesdays. There's slots still open if you want to talk about investing, and the platform vestor.com. I highly recommend that you go ahead and just register for her newsletter, because she is an educator. Her Facebook, her LinkedIn page is under Davonne, Davonne Reeves, Reaves. She's out of Atlanta. And so hotel ownership is her space, but now she's opening it up for office, retail as well, so that we can have an opportunity to raise funds and share the distribution of ownership in these properties. Does anyone have any thoughts about owning, investing in real estate?
Dr. V, this is
Hi,
Joy. Hey, I just wanted to say congratulations on the project. I joined, as someone else said, mostly to support you, but I have a big heart for history and for preserving historic assets. Working on a project now with archives that my grandmother saved in Baltimore, Maryland, around Black history and the history of a Black church there. So close to my heart. And just so everyone knows who I am, I'm a owner of a business. Dr. V and I used to have office space in the same building, not far from the site. And our business is Genesis Ed Solutions, a management consulting firm that supports nonprofits, higher ed, and government agencies with capacity building solutions. So I love what you're doing, and I will spread the word.
Definitely. So yes, please tell at least 10,000 people. At least. So I was looking at, so tech firms are really raising a lot of money, and when I didn't hit so my first goal was 250, you know, 6 weeks out. And so we haven't hit that goal. And then in my feed pops this young man who raised 12 million. So I said, you know what, if he can raise 12 million, there's a way, because, and the caveat is there are 800,000 people on the platform he's using. And so, of course, you know, the more people you get the word out to, the more opportunities you have to find people kind of to hit those targets who are interested in helping you to raise. And also on this platform, it's the threshold's lower because it's tech. So he has 3,000 plus investors offering them shares. And so in commercial real estate, that number has to be small because, you know, it's real estate. You can't have everybody, you know, 3,000 people having ownership. The returns are just going to be difficult to calculate. So yes, we need to get 800,000 people to sign up for the newsletter and get the word out. So thank you all for being here. Any other questions before we sign off? Kristin, any passing final thoughts?
No. Thank you, everybody.
Come and see Kristin in Ohio, Miami at the Dunn's Josephine, or in North and South Carolina. The hotels are beautiful. And come and see me at the new LaVilla, and that's our handle. See me at the new LaVilla is our email address as well. Thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful evening. Thank you all for joining us. And this recording will be posted so
Thank
you
you,
can push
ladies.
it out and share it with your friends.
Good night.
Bye-bye.
Have a great night. Bye-bye, everyone. Thank you so much, Kristin. We'll be talking again soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Bye, Jane. Have a good one.